Good evening, everybody. About a month ago, I casted a chart and I asked the question to the universe, who is Orrin and Orson with right now, in order to give clues as to their whereabouts. Now, I just want to say one disclaimer. Basically, what I do is I look at William Lilly's, he is the grandfather of horary astrology, or the chart of the hour, and he uses traditional astrology signs and planets in order to give descriptions of locations and environmental clues, as well as even some of the psychology behind the players in the question. And in this case, you're going to see that there's a lot about the biological mother, and I wanted to just point out that it's not my opinion. This is just basically what I interpreted when I looked at the planets that were aligned at the time that I had casted this chart. So without further ado, I'm just going to start out by saying that the AC always signifies the main characters in the question. And since the question is, who is Orrin and Orson with right now, we're going to get some descriptors of who might be who, and of course, the location of the boys. So in this case, the AC signifies the boys and possibly the person that they are with. And right at this moment, based on news and following the story closely, we don't really know if Orrin and Orson are even alive, or if maybe they're hidden somewhere. But I'm going to go with the belief that they're alive, and if they are, this is what the stars are saying. Okay, so the AC, signifying the boys and the person that could be with them, is represented by Sagittarius. That is a fire element sign, and it also means a person, or describes a person who is happy-go-lucky, maybe the life of a party, somebody with a party vibe. The sign means heat, hot, flames, and the color associated with it resembles fire as well. Since the question is, who are they with now, Hooray starts out at the first marker at the start of the zodiac, the AC, to tell the story from the beginning, as to give clues to when the boys were first transitioned to be in the care of this person or persons, and who they are with right now. The environment likely involved a party-like setting in which fire was lit, or a heat source was in effect in that environment. The person may be a very outgoing person who is very much an attention seeker. So even though I mentioned that there was fire, that doesn't mean that the children were actually harmed by fire. It just means that there was fire in the environment, or some sort of fire-like heat source. Okay, so ruled by a good indicator is Jupiter. It's the planet of expansion and good things in House 2, which means valuable possessions and financials. But since the question again is who are O and O with right now, it is likely that the stars of the moment are answering by using the words possession of. Since House 2 means possessions, it could mean that they are in the possession of ... the person that's going to be described by the signs and planets of House 2. House 2 is owned by Aquarius at this moment. Aquarius is an air sign, which means it's a moving sign, which means the children are being moved around. It means the giver of life, also known as the water bearer of resources. This chart is indicating that the literal answer is that the boys are in the possession of the woman who actually gave birth to them. But a figurative answer could mean that the boys were hidden to be utilized as a form of financial resource. Again, that comes from the indicators from House 2, or hidden, because we're also going to see the indicators for the moon in the upcoming part of this chart, for their value and their worth in love to their mother. Again, that's House 2, or were intended to be used for their ability to be resourceful in general, maybe as a way to frame, this is all made up, but to say the adoptive parents, to maybe if they wanted to try to do something like sue them for money, or to have the boys work, let's say in retail trade, etc. These are all just examples of possible reasons, But specific reasons are not addressed in this chart because we can only focus on the one question at hand right now in Hooray, which is who are the boys with right now. Aquarius is a blessing for the collective. It means being made new, anew, baptism, holy water, cleansed. It means rebirth. Maybe it means that the person will come clean. Likely that they will be born again, as in, quote, the boys will come back, since Jupiter is ruling. If so, this will be a life-altering positive experience for the whole collective, for sure, since the world seems to be invested in this case of the missing boys. Planet influences, along with positive Jupiter, in that same house and sign are the Moon and Saturn. Saturn, of usually negative intent and consequences, rules Capricorn, of what is considered well planned, strategically, in advance, in a very organized and detailed fashion. Capricorn is the sign that owns the first house at this moment by way of the stars in the sky. And Pluto, of destruction and then rebuilding, is the first planet you see after exiting the door of House 1. And remember, House 1 means the boys along with the AC. Pluto is sitting in the entryway of House 2 right next to the Moon. The Moon is in Aquarius with the boys. Pluto is involved with the planning by way of Capricorn, and the boys are represented, and the boys being represented by the first house, AC. But Pluto is officially in House 2 with the Moon, and this is very important. Pluto, again, means destruction and the rebuilding and rejuvenating. It's here to heal the past, taking pain from wound and healing transformations with purpose. The Moon always represents the answer to the question we want revealed in Hooray. It also always signifies the question in Hooray. The Moon represents the most maternal influence in all astrology all the time. It is the very feminine, emotional energy. It's also your private thoughts that you might only share by select few close people, if that. It is responsible for the high tide and the rough, dark current of the vast ocean. Okay, thank you, Hooray. The boys are hidden, because the Moon represents what's hidden, and then it reveals it. The Moon is also the emotional mother, and that's why I'm thinking of the bio mom here, and not to be confused with what we had seen to consider the adoptive mom a bit emotionless, or lacking emotion in some ways. Lastly, I looked to House 7 to see if anyone else is involved in this case. Yes, I did see that there is one planet, which happens to be Mars. Mars is usually considered a male or masculine energy. If the whole chart was a natal birth chart, that was maybe only about the person's life, as opposed to what we are doing here, in which we're just asking a question based on the stars at the moment, then Mars would show the person's main number one major focus in that individual's life. So in this case, we know that there is a man helping the biomom, as seen in House 7, with the owner being Cancer. And Cancer means that it always rules the Moon in Hooray charts, so the answer to the question is now more complete. We see a man as the other person in Cancer, which means that he is connected with the Moon, also known as the bio-mother. So in order to answer the question, the boys are in the care of someone that is associated with the mom, and that person is a male. So we don't know if maybe the mom has them sometimes or sees them sometimes, but we do know that according to the chart, we can assume that they're being hidden by someone that their mom actually is associated with. So that's just what we see here today. Does not mean that it's fully foolproof, but if we were to look back at this, I would still see the same thing. With that moon in there, it's highly likely that the mom has something to do with them being hidden. But it's not because she doesn't care about them. I would say it's because she loves them very much. And that's the end. Thank you for listening. Many blessings.